Greetings, family. Empress D. How is everybody? I am really hoping well, because everybody deserves to be living their best life. Trust me, everybody deserves it, and everybody actually can achieve it as well, as long as they figure out who they are and recognize how powerful they are, and recognize that they have the ability to shape their reality. Another important realization is that we are all sovereign and we are all an expression of our Creator. And if we are an expression of our Creator, we can absolutely do anything. There's so much more, family, but I'll leave it at that. So, what I really wanted to dive into and kind of dissect and speak on today is essentially the fact that what I just said, the Creator dwells within all of us. Essentially, what I recognize about Christianity and Catholicness, is that both doctrines preach the fact that Jesus died for our sins and that we are all innate sinners. Both doctrines preach that. And I've made it clear, family, that I just don't know that we are default sinners. I just don't think that. I think that, again, God made us in God's image, in God's likeness. And what I interpret that to be is that what God can do, we are a mini expression of that. And again, as I said, God is acting through us. We are an expression of God. And so what God can do is what we can do, is because God dwells within us. And that's a very clear description of how I perceive our existence to be. Anyway, with Christianity and Catholicism, again, we are innate sinners. We just wake up in the rising and we just sin right away. That's what the doctrine kind of preaches. But I've tried to really look at my days in and my day out, and how I move through the world. And I'm trying to count these sins that I'm supposed to be making by default. And and this is what I'm saying. I had this conversation with my beautiful friend and fellow journey taker, and the person that I'm going to church with. I've had this discussion with them, and they kind of turned the conversation to the fact that I believe that I am without sin. And it's not that. I don't think that I'm without sin. Yes, doggy, I can hear you. It's just that I deliberately, daily choose not to sin, if that makes sense. And so my deliberate action and choice not to sin essentially results in very little sinning. The other thing is my perception of what a sin is, and your perception of what a sin is could also differ, because that also plays a role in how much you sin or not, right, family? And for me, I don't look at sin as a list of things. I look at sin essentially as a vibration and as an intention. So I don't think that anything is good or bad. I think that thinking thinks it so, makes it so. It depends on your perception, the circumstances. There's so many different nuances that play a role in whether or not something is right or wrong, essentially, at least as in the eyes of the perceiver, at least in my eyes, family. So let's use an example. I'm sure the Bible and most would perceive stripping as a sin. The profession of taking one's clothes off or dancing seductively is a sin. Right? That's the general perception, probably, by most religious people or Christians. But I'm going to be quite transparent and and honest about how my mind, or how thoughts and things, especially this specific thought of stripping, goes through my mind. So again, nothing is good or bad. Thinking makes it so. So I'm going to put myself in the mind of somebody that dances for their profession. It's all about how you perceive yourself, and it's all about your intention. So there could be people that take on this type of profession that do it with strict boundaries in place. They are there to perform a certain purpose and perform a certain duty, and no duty beyond that. And they treat it as a profession, not a lifestyle. And they do it for those certain amount of hours with a certain amount of boundaries that sit well within them. So essentially what I mean by that is they say to themselves every day, this is the circumstances by which I am going to do this job, and I'm not going to stray from it. And from they successfully achieve that day in and day out, working in that profession. That's what I mean by maintaining boundaries, right, family? And of course, every individual has to make that boundary for themselves, because they're the only ones that know the context in which they live their life. And so they're the only ones that can make those boundaries. I hope that makes sense. And that's why everything is so individual, family, right? So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. Again, nothing is good or bad. Thinking makes it so. So again, from my perspective, if somebody can live and perform that profession within those circumstances and they remain true to themselves, then hey, I don't see it as a sin. The other piece is that everybody is on this planet for a certain purpose and to play a certain role. It is what it is. To me, the purpose and to let and evidence that somebody is on the right path for me, family, is the fact that they actually evolve and grow, right? Whatever path or journey, whatever road that you're on, family, to me, you're on the right path. If as you travel along that path, you are not the same this spring as you were last spring. You get me, family? That's what it is to me. That to me is evolution and growth and success. Not necessarily degrees and dollars. Anyway, I feel like I kind of went off path. This dog is agitated wherever he is or she is. I can't see them, but they're agitated. They've been barking for a long time. Anyway, family, straight goods. It's an inside job. We cannot expect to be saved by anybody outside of ourselves. And Catholicism and Christianity, again, by default, name humans as sinners and therefore cannot be trusted and are easily manipulated by the devil. And I don't share that sentiment. What I will identify, which is somewhat in congruence with the philosophy of Christianity and Catholicism, is that human beings tend to have certain natural instincts and emotions that are naturally elicited, family. And that is the human condition. And unfortunately, what has manifested under the circumstances by which we are socialized is a human condition where the preservation of self is above all. And one of the tools that we all recognize is a huge contributor to preservation of self is the accumulation of financial resources, family. And so by virtue of that, it's placed very high in terms of its priority in most people's minds, and therefore kind of is put before other human beings. Anyway, again, family, Catholicism and Christianity are in congruence in that there are hierarchies, right, family? And quite often the hierarchy involves the accumulation of resources. The more resources you accumulate, the higher you are on the social hierarchy, in at least in the social constructs that most of us live on planet Earth, family. So I guess the whole point and purpose of this video is to kind of show how depending on somebody to save you is counterintuitive to the divine essence that our Creator has placed within all of us and inside of us, family. To have to wake up every day knowing that you're sinning is not a justice to the fact that you have a divine will and you can choose not to so-called sin. The other thing is, for ourselves, we have to define personally what a sin is. So let's look at another example. Perhaps a sin for one person is taking one drink of rum and coke a week. In somebody's perception, having one rum and coke a week is a sin. In another person's perspective, person that used to have 7 rum and cokes a week and now only drinks 1 rum and coke a week, they may not see drinking that 1 rum and coke a week as a sin, because they've progressed from a place that they didn't want to be to a place that they lesser want to be, right? So it might be a celebration to that person, and perhaps in that person's perspective, God, attributed to God, right? A victory to demonstrate God's presence in their life, that they were able to go from 7 rum and cokes a week to 1 rum and coke a week, right, family? So it's all perspective. Nothing is good or bad. It's just thinking makes it so. And so having general rules for everybody doesn't work, because everybody's at a different walk in life. Rambling. I'm sorry, family. This is 12 minutes plus. I'm going to wrap it up here. I didn't mean to sit and ramble for so long, but straight up, family, we're more powerful than those that run our societies want us to know. So I guess I'm here to try to tell and remind everybody that, because we all know this inside, right? It's just we fear that, right, for some reason. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to listen to this message, family. I encourage everybody to go out in nature regardless of the weather. Okay, I have to say that every day. I love and I value each and every one of you, family. One love.